In this video, I will show you how to write an absolute value function as a piecewise function. But first, you need to understand that if you were to graph the parent absolute value function, which is the absolute value of x, that would simply be a v-shaped graph where each side of the v has a slope of 1, and it starts with the vertex at the origin. So this is what the graph of the absolute value of x would be like. Now, the transformation that's happening here is because of the plus 3, you know that we are moving to the left 3. And because of the minus 4, this is down 4. So this entire graph is being moved left 3 and down 4. So left 3 and down 4. So the vertex is going to be right here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the V from here. Because of what I'm going to do next, as I try to write this as a piecewise function, I'm going to write the two sides of the V using two different colors. So I'm going to let the left side be blue so that you can follow what I'm doing. All right, I'll have the blue side, and then I will have the red side. Okay, so this is what the absolute value function will look like after this transformation, and this is what we now have to rewrite as a piecewise function. So the reason why I did two different colors is because each part of this, each color is going to be a different piece on the piecewise function. So let's start with the blue part. You can see that this is just a straight line. All right, the blue part is just a straight line, and if I extended it, all right, I'm just going to put a dotted line because this is not really here, but if I extended this line, it would go like this. Now, let's remember how y equals mx plus b works. The m and the b are the slope and the y-intercept. So this would be the equation y equals, well, the slope is -1. See how it's going down 1, right 1. All right, the slope is -1. So I'm going to have -1x, or I could just say -x, and then comes the y-intercept. Well, the y-intercept would be right here at -7. So that would be -7. So the equation of this blue line would be y equals, and this f of x is really the y equals part. So we're just picking up from here, and this is what goes in the piecewise function. I'm going to leave out the 1 now and just put -x minus 7. Okay, now, obviously we don't get to keep the entire line. We're only keeping this portion of the line that's colored blue. We need to include what is called the domain of this piece. In other words, we need to mention the x values where this part of the graph exists. Sometimes it's helpful to imagine a vertical line that shows where you change from one function to another. So at this green vertical line is where it changes from the blue function to the red function. What is the x value of the green line? It is at -3. So we can say that it's going to be this part of the graph between -∞ and -3. So if I do interval notation, I'm going to say from -∞ to -3. Now, I'm going to go ahead and let this be a closed bracket. I'm going to go ahead and include the -3 in the blue function. You're going to see when I do the other part, it doesn't matter. The -3 has to be included in one of them. but you don't want to include it in both. So putting a square bracket includes the -3 in the blue. When I do the red function, I'm going to use parentheses on the -3 instead. It doesn't really matter which one gets the bracket, but one should have the bracket and one should not. By the way, if you're one of the people who prefers inequalities, as an inequality, I could have written this as x is less than or equal to -3. All right, that means the same thing as this interval. Anyway, let's move on to the red function now. Now the red function, again, if you think y equals mx plus b, then we have y equals, and the slope is 1, and the y-intercept is right here at -1. All right, it's where the graph crosses the y-axis. So -1. So that's why I'm going to put x minus 1. Excuse me. That's why I'm going to put x minus 1. Now the domain, the x values, this graph goes from -3 to infinity. All right, notice this time I used a parenthesis, not a square bracket. One of them will have the bracket, one of them will have a parenthesis. It doesn't matter which is which. Now, if I had written this using an inequality, I would have said x is greater than -3. All right, that is it. That is how you write an absolute value function as a piecewise function.